Social media has become an almost inevitable part of our everyday lives. From Snapchat to TikTok to Instagram to Twitter, we're always on our phones as students. And let's be honest, between you and I, you know your Snap score is higher than your GPA. Today, that is what we're going to talk about. Hello once again, my name is Emmanuel Ofoswajima, and I'm your host for the Hello Student Talk Show. On our show today, we're going to be talking about the impacts of social media, especially on the everyday student. And with us today to discuss this very important and interesting topic, we have someone I like to think of as an expert in the field, a very good friend of mine personally. He's a bodybuilder, as you can tell if you're watching us today. Yes, he's a final year student in the University of Ghana, studying political science and Arabic. He is the president of the Arabic department. Also, he is the person in charge of Legon Live. So with us here today, we have Prince Abdul Talib. Prince, welcome.
Thank you so much, Manuela, for having me here.
It's an honor to have you here. Like I said, he's a personal friend. But he's always believing me, so, that's something we can talk about another time. But yeah, we're going to go straight into the topic we have today. So, what can you tell us about social media as someone who manages Legon Life? University of Ghana is a big institution. As someone who's part of the management board for one of its social media platforms, what can you tell us about managing social media life as a student?
Okay, so first off, I'd like to say hello to everyone watching me. Depending on the time you're watching me, it could be morning, afternoon, or evening, of course. So first off, I'll talk about social media, then we branch into Legon Life. So social media basically is, there are a series of platforms that allow us to connect with our loved ones, people we actually yet to meet and whatnot. So it's more or less like a platform that has allowed the world come together, because in the past, conversations were very, very difficult. You'd have to write letters to people just to have access to them. But these days, you don't need that. All you need is your internet, your data, and you're good to go, as well as a smartphone or a gadget, of course. So that has helped our society become more or less like, a very closed space. Yeah. Very true. So I would say social media is a blessing to everyone. But from the perspective of Legon Live, it's actually a privilege that I get to manage a huge platform like Legon Live, because it has gotten to a time where students depend on me for information more than they even do on the university pages. Because let me start from level 100. So I was that very informative student who loved to share information to my colleagues. So students mostly depended on me for information. Then I was like, why don't I capitalize on this to create a platform where students, would subscribe to a channel as well as have access to this information, as well as advertise their products and whatnot. So I was very active on Instagram at that time. So I decided to move to Instagram. And I created a page. At first, the reception wasn't that great, but of course, when you're creating a new platform, it really takes time. Yeah. With time, the page was discovered and students accepted it. So when the university posts anything on its website, I do my best to be one of the first persons to capture, because usually students are so lazy around the university website, and that's where social media comes in, Mm-hmm. So because students are always on Twitter, Instagram, and other platforms, they find it hard visiting academic platforms like the university website. So you get the information from the university website to the various platforms, and that makes it easily accessible to students. And it got to a time where the university recognized me, and now they started tagging me on most of their posts, because the university realized that I had a wider reach than them. Aside the website, the university really had or has a very, lower population of following on social media. So if you want to reach out to students, you have to get a student-centered platform managed by a student. So the university regularly tags me on their pages. And in as much as they give me content, I also give the university some recognition on social media and also some following. Because I remember when I created Legon Live, the university had around 3,000 followers on Instagram, which was very bad, considering it being the premier university in Ghana. So I had to do something about it. So I'm very happy that students are able to depend on me for information, and that I'm able to reach a wider number of students. Yeah.
That's amazing. So just so you know, Talib is one of those people that will go and check Sakai and come and tell you that the results are in.
Well, actually, I'm one of those students.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm one of those students. I like to be so informative. I like to hold the first-hand information. I want you to get it from me. That's how I've always been.
That's why you can ruin my Christmas. Anyway, so how has this affected you academically and socially? Outside the Instagram person, how has it affected Talib as an individual?
Okay, so right now I'm quite considered within the university political space. Usually, most of the influential people on campus, this may not affect other universities, but this is in relation to the University of Ghana. Yeah. So most people or most political leaders on campus are usually seen in kaftans. I'm not a kaftan person. I'm usually in casuals. So it has made me quite recognizable in the political space because I'm a student leader, of course, but I don't really make noise about my position. I'm only centered on stuff that affects my department. So you don't really see my influence if you are outside my department. But because I manage such a platform like this, political or student leaders like to use my platform to reach out to people they want to reach out. So when it's time for SRC campaigns, for example, I get proposals from SRC candidates, and some are very good offers, but sometimes your friendships might be along the line because you have a friend you'd want to support, but someone is offering, some amount of money just so you post him or her on the platform announcing their candidature. So it gives you that kind of influence and that kind of, hype because you are Legon Live, you understand? So it feels good. It has helped me socially because I've met a lot of people on campus, past SRC executives, past departmental executives, just because they are impressed that this page is managed by a student and is really doing so well. Academically, personally, I wouldn't say it has had a direct impact on my academics, but it has had an impact on my academic life because some people would want to befriend you just because you are Legon Live, and we are in the university and we prioritize connections that we make. These people wouldn't really have an impact on your life now, but could have an impact outside campus. Yeah. So in my academic life, I could say it has had an impact, but directly on my grades, I wouldn't say it has had any impact.
So let's shift a little from just Legon Life. Let's come to social media in general. Because there's this whole thing about how people take, a gap from social media because it's affecting their mental health.
Yeah.
What is your impact on, what do you think about that? Do you think social media directly impacts, the mental health of students? Is it something that we should start taking into consideration, or is it just, mambo jumbo, vibes and issues?
Yeah, I think the issue about social media affecting the mental health of students is really true, and it's something we have to take into consideration. The social media social media platforms are a representation of what happens in the real world. Yeah. So when you create a social media account, it reflects your personality in person. So I find it problematic first when someone tells me that the life I live on social media is not the same life I am living, because what you put out there is you. That is why people or organizations could hire you based on what you put out on LinkedIn, because those reflect your achievements. So, these days there are some beauty standards. There are lots of standards some people are expected to live up to. When you're a student, you are forced to, change outfits to classes regularly, even when you don't have that money to buy enough clothing. And it happens because you go to class and some girls question, you wore this outfit to class yesterday. Why are you wearing it today? So if I wear this shirt today and take a photo of it and post it on my social media pages, I can't wear this and take another photo because people might question my wardrobe. And that's something I would want to avoid. So if I continually do this, or if I disregard comments and decide to put out things I have out there and people don't seem to like it, then they start attacking me. And when people attack me, it really affects me because that is me they are attacking. Yeah. And it gets so serious when you become a trend on Twitter, because Twitter takes trends based on what people talk about, and it's very, very, it's a very big problem. I have been trolled once, even though it wasn't a trend. I really felt it. I really, really felt it. I couldn't eat. I couldn't speak to anyone just because I felt, it was very, very serious. It was within I could say some few amounts of people, but some few number of people, but it was very, very serious for me. So if you are a public figure on campus and your issue comes out and students attack you, trust me, it's really serious. And that's why we have Careers and Counseling Center, and we encourage people to always visit those places, because sometimes someone could be smiling, but you have no idea what they are really going through. So yeah, depression and those kind of things, they are very real.
With social media.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Twitter is a black hole. I never even want to post hi on Twitter because maybe I don't want to.
Yeah. So Twitter, with my personal account, I don't really update my Twitter. I don't post. I don't tweet just because I know what could happen. I could be very controversial at times because I like to be so open-minded and I like to say things that I want.
I know that's personally.
And sometimes these could step on others' toes. Sometimes it might feel good, but it wouldn't feel good to others. And the best way to prevent stepping on someone's toes is by not engaging at all. So I could be on Twitter, just be reading tweets and reading trends, but you would hardly see my tweets on Twitter. Yeah.
Right. So we're still watching Hello Students. Today we're talking about the impact of social media on the everyday student. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Just join us, engage us, and just tell your friends about us. Right. So now let's talk about the kind of effect that social media has on communication. Right. Because I think that to a large extent, especially with the Gen Z, we're social media people.
Yeah.
We go on Twitter, we go on Instagram, we go on WhatsApp, and we chat. But outside that, we don't have lives. And personally, that was something that I experienced in 2022. I felt like I became so busy that the only part of me that existed was on social media. So part of my New Year resolution was to go out more with friends. Do you think that, to a large extent, that has become a hindrance? Like, people just existing on social media and social media only?
Yeah, to an extent, I could say it goes both ways.
Okay.
So there are some people that allow social media affects their personal lives, that they're able to interact with people more personally. And with some others who they find personal interaction so demanding, so they limit their lives on social media. So let's move back to Legon Live and how it has had an influence on my communication. So I have gained the trust of students to the extent that some students feel like I am the university. So when admissions were released and some students didn't gain admission, unfortunately, because it happens, not everyone could gain admission.
Obviously.
Some offered some amounts just so I grant them admission. During this accommodation crisis, some were willing to pay any amounts just so I offer them admission, even though they didn't know who I was, because I never post my image on Legon Live, because I feel like it is not about me, but the brand I represent, that's the university. So with how I communicate, I've been able to gain the trust of people that they don't really care who's behind it. So for us, it's a brand that has really gained our trust. We are willing to go extra mile, providing 5,000, 6,000 just so I give them accommodation, something I can't even give to my younger sibling. So that's very, very serious. And I could say it feels good that people trust me that much with the information I put out there and with some potentials they think I carry. And with how it affects some students' personal lives, well, it's about the pressure, you understand. If Emmanuel Ajima always posts things about her outing, today she's at Sports Belly, tomorrow she's at Live Cafe. Soft life, basically. If she always posts her soft life, I would feel, so pressured, because I actually feel so demeaning, because I wouldn't be able to do exactly what you do, especially when you are my course mates and when we do a whole lot of stuff. So to prevent all that, I'd rather limit my life on social media and just watch you post these stuff rather than go out with my friends and not be able to pay for the foods I order. You understand? So some people enjoy watching what other people do rather than going out, because when we go out, we'd have to contribute and pay for our foods. And the foods out there are very expensive. You need about 500 cedis to chill in Accra just for supper. So it's very, very serious. In Accra, you really stay by plan. So that's how it is. With some people, it affects them positively, because Emanuela could recommend Ports Belly. I would be like, let me give it a try. But with some other person, it wouldn't be so, because they can't afford, so they would rather prefer being in their spaces.
Right. That's impressive. Okay. So let's talk about the way that students can take advantage of social media. Let's be honest. Platforms like LinkedIn, like Twitter, they exist to allow people to have exposure to opportunities, job
Yeah.
opportunities all over the world. I mean, I've heard people give testimonies of how they are doing internships that they never thought about because of a portfolio they saw on LinkedIn or something, you know. So, do you genuinely think that students take full advantage of social media? Or if they don't, what do you think is the most appropriate way for them to be able to do that?
So putting out fake information out there is very, very risky, and don't undermine any social media platform, especially LinkedIn, because firms or corporations that usually take employees from LinkedIn are very serious organizations, and before they even call you, they might have done their homework. So when you tell me you've interned at CocoaBoard, what makes you think the manager or the HR doesn't have any link at CocoaBoard? Because they would have to do their homework, because before I hire someone to come work for me, I need to know who that person is. This person could be a scam, this person could be a thief, this person could be anything. So they do their homeworks, and later when they even realize that you lied on your profile, the consequences could be so dire that it could affect your reputation for the rest of your life. You understand? These firms don't have any problem putting out your image out there on newspapers, letting everyone know you are a scam. And that's not a gamble you're willing to, play. So it's very risky to do that. So instead, you just put out the genuine information. Sometimes the simplest things you do could even bag you, unemployment. So it's quite problematic when people feel like you'd have, when in school, you'd have to get like 10 positions, because it clearly wouldn't affect your impact positively on students. So when you are SRC presidents today, departmental presidents tomorrow, yesterday, you wouldn't have a clear focus on one. But when you are a departmental president and you make sure that the priorities of your people are in order, these people find you as serious because you pay attention to one thing at a particular time. But when you have positions all over the places, you might have these positions, but you wouldn't be doing anything because at this point you are here, at this point you are also there. So putting out much information out there sometimes don't even help us. You just need something small. Make sure you make good use of it, and it will go a long way.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned something earlier in your speech. You talked about how the whole admission crisis and accommodation crisis, not just the University of Ghana, we had KNUST, we had UCC, etc. Things like cyberbullying online, right? The idea that people take advantage of social media platforms to scam students, these WhatsApp groups and whatnot. What would be your advice to the everyday students? What can they do to prevent such incidents from occurring?
Yeah, so as you said earlier when I talked about how some were even willing to pay some amount of money to me just so I provide accommodation and whatever to them, that thing happens across different platforms, because my Legon Live is not the only fan page of the University of Ghana. There are equally other pages. There are Legon this, there are Legon that, but I have been able to gain the trust of students. So those who are not even willing to deal with these scams on WhatsApp come to me directly, but because I represent the university, of course, I cannot encourage bed selling and bed buying and whatnot. If you would want to engage in anything that has to deal with accommodation, the best thing to do is to engage management or the various hall tutors. They are the only legit people to give you accommodation. Because if you buy a bed from me, Emanuela, tomorrow I could denounce it no matter the amount of money you give me, because there's no proof that you own the bed. I could just walk into the room the following day and sack you, and you have no proof giving me the money, because these people don't usually transact online. You have to give me the money in cash, and you can't trace it, because when giving me the money, obviously you don't have any camera, and the receipt has my name on it. So it's very risky buying beds, and the various halls also have strong policies against that. When they catch you buying bed or selling bed, you're going to be in serious trouble. So usually you just don't engage in all these. If you don't have accommodation, just look for any hostel around campus and just be in there. It will just be for a year. The following year you might try your luck and just secure a hall.
So don't buy any of the people on social media.
No, don't. It's very, very risky. Right. It's the riskiest move you could ever take as a student, honestly. I know people that have been duped. It's rather unfortunate, but sometimes you just have to be smart. Don't just engage anyone at all.
All right, Tali, thank you so much for coming and joining us today.
Thank you so much, Manuela, for having me. I really enjoyed this
Yes,
conversation.
as you have come to sit here, please don't be bullying me again.
Emanuela, you're a friend. How can I?
All right, wonderful viewers. Like the saying goes, everything good must eventually come to an end, and so must our show today. Today we had with us Prince Abdul Talib talk about the impact of social media on the everyday student and how we can better our lives with social media. And it was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to like, to share, to comment, subscribe to our channel, turn on the notification, tell a friend about us. Whatever you want to do, just spread the gospel of Hello Students out there, and we'll see you on our next episode. Thank you and have a wonderful day.